Hey guys, Jay. Welcome back to the channel. So guys, I am in Ohio, Cleveland. I'm a couple of hours away from Columbus, Ohio, where I'm heading to PowerCon 2023. I'm visiting some family here, and yeah, I've even got my own display. Do you like it? But of course, this isn't really what we're talking about. I'm talking about SilverHawks today, guys. That's right. The SilverHawks have been posted for pre-order on Super7.com. Toy versions. That's right. These ones are in homage to the original Kenner style versions that were released. Well, without further ado, let's have a look at what Super7 posted on their website for pre-order today. PowerCon 2023 is on the doorstep. Literally, only about 3 or 4 days left to go before the fun begins. Oh my gosh, guys, this is going to be great. Happening August 11th through the 13th. I'm going to be there along with so many other toy tubers and special guests. Check it out, everybody. We have some amazing wrestling guests, including Smart Mark Sterling, amazing talented creators like Aaron Archer, Angel Kent, Blake Wright, Brian Volk-Weiss, Dan Larson, Darius Prince, Darren Sander, Iman O'Donoghue, Ed Bradley, Eric Siebenauer, the Fans of Power Podcast, Freddie Tommen, Garrett Sander, John McDonald, Ken Christensen, Marcelo Materi, Marty Abrams, Matt Tyree, Oldfell, Pixel, Dan, Rebecca McDonald, Rich Alot, Sav Marie, Shartimus Prime, Stephanie Eskander, Tim Clark, Tim Effler, Tom Osborne, United Chaos, and Wayne Shiner. There are also going to be a whole bunch of different companies there showing off all the new releases that they have throughout the year. And today, Super 7 Toys dropped something absolutely amazing, which I'm hoping to see at the show. Guys, in my email box today, I received something from Super 7 which just blew my mind. That's right, everybody. Wings of Silver, Nerves of Steel, the SilverHawks have been announced as being pre-orderable on Super7.com. Let's take a deeper dive into this because I'm excited about this and I think you guys will be excited too. Heading over to Super7.com, yes indeed guys, Super 7 Ultimates SilverHawks inspired by the Kenner original SilverHawks from the 80s. I think there are some significant changes here, which you can almost immediately see, and in some cases, some which aren't that immediately noticeable. Let's have a look, guys. We have to talk about the elephant in the room. Yes, these are Vac-Metalized SilverHawks, and we do have to acknowledge that at one point, it was quoted somewhere by Brian Flynn that it was very difficult to do Vac-Metal on the current plastic that they use on toys today. They've obviously figured that out now. There are going to be some people who are going to be critical about this move. Consider the fact that many SilverHawks fans have already purchased the original Super 7 Ultimate SilverHawks, which were cartoon-based and did not have Vac-Metalized parts. These SilverHawks are obviously produced to see if that was actually the case, and it looks like they have succeeded as they are already up for pre-order right now. This hit me right in the childhood, I've got to tell you. When I first saw this being displayed at San Diego Comic-Con 2023, I literally lost my mind. These guys look amazing. And the reason they touch that nostalgia vibe for me is because I had these SilverHawks as a kid. Kenner, honestly, they hit it out of the park when they made these. They had that gimmick where you could wing it by squeezing their legs. Obviously, that doesn't happen with these versions of the SilverHawks. But because of their Vac-Metal nature, the shininess of the figure itself, and this little tempo, which is on the top left-hand breast of each figure, oh my god, that is the chef's kiss. Because to be perfectly honest with you, I remember seeing that as a kid and thinking that it was so cool. I really am impressed at the way this is coming together. Even with the prototypes that they showed over at San Diego Comic-Con, they weren't the best. They still have a lot of work to go through them, but they were, admittedly, prototypes. I know that there's been a little bit of criticism as Pixel Dan and of course Shartimus Prime were able to hold on to them for just a little bit, and in that time certain things happened to the figures which there was a little cracking on, particularly around the midsection region. That honestly was to be expected. Those were prototypes. They really weren't supposed to be handled at all by anyone who is not part of the Super 7 team. But to their credit, Brian and the team allowed Shartimus and Pixel Dan to actually hold on to them and do almost a tiny little bit of a mini review. That is, again, at that early stage, it's really hard to judge what type of characters these are going to be in the final version. So I'm going to reserve judgment. I am going to be picking these up because these really do tickle that soft spot in me for that nostalgia itch that I'm yearning for SilverHawks. Quicksilver comes in the standard SilverHawks packout, and I would suggest trying to wear gloves whenever possible. I don't think it's going to be possible when you're taking them out of the package, but afterwards, polish them down with a cloth and then use some sort of white gloves or something to hold on to these guys. Touching them with your bare hands transfers oils from your fingers onto the Vac-Metal, and that can actually damage it over time. Quicksilver comes with everything that you see here. He comes with the standard set of hands, which came with the original Quicksilver, one partly metal, one partly real. He comes with his standard winged set. It's my understanding that the pegs themselves will be made of a different material. Although they will be colored in a silver, they will not be the Vac-Metal Silver, making it easier to pop in and out without actually damaging the silver chrome as a whole. And I think that that is a really good compromise. The swappable head really does it for me, man. I mean, this is what I remember from my childhood, from the cartoon, and of course this is going to be the first time we actually see a Vac-Metalized helmeted head, as the original Kenner versions did not come with swappable heads. He also comes with a toyetic version of Tallyhawk, and I'm really excited for this version, really harkening back to the original. The next figure in the line is, of course, SteelHeart toy version. Man, this is another one which I've been waiting for, because SteelHeart, of course, is another one of my fan favorites. She really was one of the strongest characters in the show, both figuratively and literally. Sometimes she didn't even know her own strength. These are digital renders, so they have to be taken with a grain of salt. But I am loving the way they looked and the way they appeared at San Diego Comic-Con. They just look fantastic. Now, Quicksilver has a more silver type of appearance, whereas SteelHeart actually has a bluer tinge to her overall appearance, which really makes her unique, along with other SilverHawks who also have different colors for their Vac-Metalized appearance. It's interesting that these winged arms still do not show the partly metal, partly real right forearm, which I'm hoping is still an early render, and they'll be fixing this on the final release. This is going to be a really big sticking point for any fans, particularly because this solicitation photo does show paint applied to this version, whereas the renders for the packout as well as the included parts still show a fully Vac-Metalized forearm. Interesting. She will come with an additional set of swapped heads, a furrowed brow type of face, her masked face, which again is going to be amazing. Something we never received with the Kenner versions. She also comes with her standard set of swappable hands. Again, it's interesting to note that her right hands are all painted in a flesh tone, and her left hands are, of course, Vac-Metalized. SteelHeart also comes with her toyetic version of her bird companion, and this is a really great collector's item, specifically because the original Ultimates version came with a more cartoon version of these familiars, and it's really great to see that they're sticking closer to the Kenner-inspired roots by keeping this very toyetic. Another one which really hits me in the childhood is definitely Buzzsaw toy version. Oh my gosh, this thing really hits me in the childhood, because this is the version I had as a kid. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure if I dig deep enough, I'll be able to find this guy somewhere. Buzzsaw actually is unique, as he was completely yellow in the original cartoon series, but for whatever strange reason, in the toy, they made him green. And I'll be honest with you, this one is the version of Buzzsaw which I completely remember, as this is the version of Buzzsaw which I identify with the most. These renders are just ridiculous, and I do love the way they look. I am so excited to see what they're finally going to look like in full color. Now, Buzzsaw here comes with actually quite a bit more than the new toy-inspired version, and I'm not sure exactly what to think about that. Although I'm really leaning towards the toy version, I have to say that the value which is presented with the cartoon-inspired version is noticeable. At the end of the day, it's up to you which one you want to pick up, but I do have to say that this one really does do it for me in terms of its overall appearance as the toy version. Finally, the big elephant in the room has to be the MonStar toy version. MonStar is absolutely ridiculous. He's absolutely huge. He's absolutely beastly. If you haven't already ordered the original version of MonStar, which comes with a crap ton of stuff and is an incredibly imposing figure, having him hand these pictures just do not do him justice. He is a truly collectible figure just by size alone. In contrast, I do have to say though that this version of MonStar, although he's just as imposing, just as impressive, if you've already picked up this version of MonStar, I have to say it's going to be hard to want to pick up a second version, considering that there is very little difference in these two based solely on paint applications and the bonus swappable head, which of course is a standard inclusion for the Kenner-inspired toy. MonStar comes with all of his additional swapped hands, which were included in the original Ultimates release, as well as a more toy-inspired version of his blaster. This is an exciting time for SilverHawks collectors, as they literally are spoiled for choice when picking up any of these Ultimates figures. And as a bonus, if you pick up the entire Wave 4 directly from Super7 as a set, Super7 is throwing in a bonus super pack, as they've done so often before in their latest releases. This super pack includes a new set of swappable heads, which are all toy-inspired. Zooming into the set, we can see Quicksilver, SteelHeart. As you can see that their eyes and the tempo on their eyes are much more flat and really represent the way they looked in the original Kenner version from the 80s. It also comes with an additional head for Buzzsaw and a much more accurate head, which is inspired by the Kenner toy version of MonStar, which actually has less paint and is slightly less detailed. These are a must for any collector and will only be available on the Super7 website. Now it comes down to price. And this is where it's going to get a little bit dicey for many fans. The original SilverHawk releases were $55 each, Quicksilver, SteelHeart, and Buzzsaw, where MonStar was $84. And I will have links to these cartoon versions in the description below. But it needs to be said that because of the Vac-Metal applications, the newer versions are just a bit pricier. Quicksilver comes in at $65, as does SteelHeart, Buzzsaw, while MonStar remains at $85 for his pre-order. As great as that sounds, I do have to recognize that there are actually fewer accessories included with these releases, at an extra $10 each for Quicksilver, SteelHeart, and Buzzsaw. It might be a big sticking point in terms of its overall value for fans who might have already picked up the cartoon-inspired versions from the original Ultimates release. Ultimately, though, I do have to say that seeing these at San Diego Comic-Con and hopefully being able to witness them in person, it really does hit me in a very particular way. I'm probably going to end up picking these guys up because they really do hit me right there in the nostalgia. And for an extra $10, that is a very small price to pay for something that I've always wanted as an Ultimates figure in this form. I might end up going for Buzzsaw as well, as this was my absolute favorite toy in the line from the original Kenner versions. MonStar, though, is going to be a tough choice, as there really is not that much difference compared to the original version that was released, and it's just a really hard pill to swallow for another $85 for something that is basically the same thing in my eyes. Guys, if you're interested in any of these, I will have affiliate links for not only the original cartoon-inspired versions, which are already in stock on Entertainment Earth, but I will also have affiliate links for the Vac-Metalized versions, which can be pre-ordered right now on Entertainment Earth. But I remind you that if you really want to pick up that extra bonus super pack, that can only be done on Super7.com. And I'll also have a link to that. SilverHawks is still one of my absolute all-time favorite cartoons of the 1980s, and I am absolutely thrilled that Super7 is still making efforts to bring out our most beloved, nostalgic figures from that time. Partly metal, partly real, everybody. I do have to say that these ones really hit the soft spot in my nostalgic feels, because honestly, the Vac-Metal and, of course, that emblem that's right on their left breast, it really does remind me of those toys from Kenner back in 1985, and I'm super excited we get a chance at this. But how do I feel about the $10 extra on top for these Vac-Metalized figures? Honestly, I'm not that bothered by it. The reason being is because Brian Flynn has gone on record to say that the plastic that they usually use for Super 7 action figures would not be working with the Vac-Metalized parts. So, utilizing this new technique, they've been able to bring this to us. And for me, these are SilverHawks, which are not going to be posed very much. I'm going to pretty much leave them in one static pose and pretty much have them in that overall stature as it is, practically statues in themselves. They are, for me, a real big nostalgia trip, and I think we're going to be leaving it like that. After all, I have the original Ultimates versions, which aren't bad in themselves, and I intend to complete that line as part of my SilverHawks collection. These ones are just going to be that extra cherry on top. Are you guys going to be picking these up and trying to pose them yourselves? Or are you a little bit upset that they released the Ultimates version full well knowing that there was an opportunity to release a full Vac-Metalized version and didn't take that route? Guys, let me know those comments in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this episode, guys, please do leave a like. It really does help me out. And if you're in the position to help with the channel, please consider checking out my Patreon page. It's MegaJ Retro on Patreon. Guys, the patrons and channel members of this channel help me make one of our episodes every single week, and I couldn't do it without them. They are the best. Thank you so much for your support, everyone. It really means the world to me. I hope you're all doing well, staying safe. And as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching. SilverHawks! Good journey, everyone. Geek proud.
I want to give a huge shout out to all my Patreon and channel member supporters. Thank you so much, everybody. It's thanks to your support that this channel continues to grow, and I really could not have done this without you. You guys are the best. Thank you so much for your support, guys. It really means a lot and really helps the channel to keep growing.